Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Today is Sunday, January 24th, and I am here to discuss some NBA basketball, a 2-game early slate and a 5-game main slate. So we're going to attack both of them. Luckily, Draftkings and Fanduel have the same setup, so we're not having all these crazy different slates. We can just focus on these two and get it done. So before we get rolling, I have to do a little whining and crying. That's why I've got my all black on. It was not a good Saturday night for me in DFS. It was just, I'm sure everybody out there has had those days, but everything that could go wrong did go wrong today. So I'd rather get all of that garbage out of the way in one fail swoop. But it started early with my PGA golfer, Charlie Hoffman, hurt his back on the first hole. So he withdrew, which messed up my lines for this weekend, which I wasn't happy about. And then just with basketball, could not pivot to the right guys. I had Cousins in there. Obviously, he was a slate breaker tonight. But just wanted to do a little belly aching and, also own up to, every lineup every day. I am very proud of the record that we have here at Coach Talk and the winners that we put out on a very consistent basis. My NBA cash record on FanDuel was a remarkable 79.1% last season. Not at that number right now, but I'm bound and determined to get there. So, anyway, just wanted to share that. Today is going to be a much, much better day. We have obviously the 2 NFL games. They're playing at 3 o'clock Eastern and 6:40. So that's why I had decided to provide both the early slate, because we have Toronto, Indiana at 1 and Oklahoma City and the Clippers at 4. So there may be some people that want to jump in that one prior to football getting started. And then the evening slate, there's 2 7 o'clock, 2 8 o'clock, and a 10 o'clock game. So you can definitely catch on the backside of football, catch those. Now, I'll be watching all the NBA games because that is my sport, but I certainly will have an eye on the NFL with Andrew Hansen and Shane Caldwell putting out their podcast. It actually is probably posted right around when this one posts or a little bit earlier, but you're going to want to listen to that one. And then certainly big DFS day for NFL with these 2 games. And they're both intriguing, very interesting games. Okay, let's get into the NBA for this wonderful Sunday, and we are going to hammer it. I'm just telling you right now, we're getting after this. They made me mad, so even Dirk's ticked off. He didn't even have a smile. Those pearly whites, he was frowning earlier, so he's even mad. So we're going after it. All right, early game, 1 o'clock, as I said, Toronto at Indiana. Right now, there's no line. There's only 3 lines up this early, but you've got 2 teams here that can score. They have a lot of stars. Right now, they're ranked defensively, Toronto 9th and Indiana 14th. So not wide open basketball, but they both have strong enough players to overcome the defenses, I believe, here. Pace of play, Toronto's 14th and Indiana 17th. So very, very even, middle of the road type of game in that manner. Now, a couple of things to discuss with this game. Again, it's a 2-game slate, so we look at it a little bit differently. A little more people are going to be in play here. And so let's see here. We've got Kyle Lowry is questionable, and that's a big difference in this game, because if he sits, for me, it brings Van Vliet as a plug and play must have. He didn't step up as well the last game with Lowry out, but I have a lot of confidence that he can get it done. And this is not a bad matchup for him. If Lowry's back, it shifts things a little bit. I still like Van Vliet, even if Lowry plays, though. And it might not be the worst thing in the world if he does, because I think Malcolm Brogdon would defend Lowry in that situation, and he is a really good defender. And that would leave, I think, Van Vliet a little bit more opportunity to get some easier shots with some of the rotation of the shooting guards defending him. On the other hand, though, if Lowry doesn't play, I think Van Vliet, obviously his usage increases quite a bit. He's got the ball in his hands the majority of the game. So that's an upside as well. So Van Vliet is more than likely going to make my lineup and be a decent part of my build. As far as the other players go, if Lowry sits, there is that extra usage to go around. I think that you've got to consider Boucher, even though, Turner is a good shot blocker. Boucher still can shoot over most people. He can hit some threes, pull Turner from the basket. And, he's going to get a lot of his stuff inside. The only other center that's getting any minutes for them is Aaron Baines, who usually starts off the game but gets very few minutes. They got rid of Alex Len. I think he just signed as a free agent with Washington, if I'm not mistaken. So the main thing is, I think, you got to consider Boucher, even though he's a little costly because it's a 2-game slate. I'm not as high on Siakam. His price is up there. I think that, he runs into a little bit tougher defense here with Sabonis and, Turner on the backside helping out. I think you're going to see a lot of Boucher getting a lot more opportunities because of that. So I wouldn't eliminate Siakam, but he's a backup play for me right now. I'm focused on Van Vliet and Boucher on that side of the ball. One of my pay-up guys is going to be on the Indiana side. It's not going to be any surprise to you, but Sabonis always is at the top of my list when it's a matchup that I think that he can really take advantage of. And his strength in the paint is going to be way too much for Siakam or Boucher to defend. I think he'll bully ball his way into a lot of points and a lot of rebounds here. And I'm willing to pay up. Certainly in a 2-game slate, I think you got to have him as a key play here. He's the number one guy I like from the Indiana side. If you need a value play here, McDermott has seen his role change a little bit. He's been starting, he's been getting minutes, but they are rotating now that Jeremy Lamb is back. And, it really takes McDermott more as a question mark play for me with Lamb playing. Lamb's not back to full enough minutes to make a big impact. So I'm not going to go there. Brogdon's super expensive. And, the Toronto backcourt gets after it a bit. So I'm not going to go there either. So really it's Sabonis for sure. And then need to determine if there's any value play that I'm looking at here on that side. But as of now, that is going to be it for the exposure to that game. The second, and by the way, the Raptors are 6-9, Pacers are 9-6 in that game. All right, the second one, the 4:00 game. This is the second of the 2 games on the early slate. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder 6-8 against the Clippers 12-4. We do have a line on this game from our partners at BetUS.com.pa, and that line is the Clippers -13. So we're talking about a serious blowout potential here. That's one of the bigger lines we've seen in a couple of weeks. So that is a concern. However, the total is 222, which is really solid. I think that's going to be a higher number than in the Toronto-Indiana game, and is really going to allow you to get a little bit more exposure to this game than the other game, just out of necessity. Right now, defensively, defensive efficiency for these two teams, Oklahoma City is 21st and the Clippers are 17th. They're getting up there. They were 26th. They're climbing, but they're almost to the halfway point. I think you'll see that number continue to rise because of the great defenders they have on that team. From a pace standpoint, the Thunder are 11th, which aren't bad. They do push the ball at times with Shea and George Hill and Diallo off the bench. They will get up and down. Clippers, however, are 27th. They're playing very controlled ball, ISO ball with George and Kawhi, clearing out, and just controlling the pace of the game. So, it is a pace down game, obviously, for the Thunder, which, creates a little concern there. I don't want to pay up for Shea in this game because of the blowout potential, because he has to face Pat Beverly and Paul George defense. And on top of that, it's a pace down game. So the person I'm looking at with Oklahoma City, because he's such a value and he has continued to be, is Isaiah Roby. He's been the starting center and he's been pretty effective. His ceiling isn't that great, but his floor is pretty good. And if you're going to make some of the high-up guys work, we're going to have to get a couple of people in there that are going to save us a few dollars. So so he's the one guy that I want to look at initially here with Oklahoma City. Now on the Clippers side, I think there's a couple of good plays. I want to pay up for Paul George. I love the matchup here. I think that he could smash, and I think you got to look at him. I think that the goal is to fit in, and it's not going to be the easiest thing, but it's doable. You can fit in Van Vliet, Sabonis, and Paul George as the three pay-up guys. And then we've got some middle-of-the-road, mid-price guys that we can look at that could easily get value. And then a few good pay-down options with the likes of Roby and, possibly one of the Indiana Wings. And then, the other guy that you can look at with the Clippers that isn't overpriced anymore at all, and that's Serge Ibaka. So, you're able to use a center and, a pivot player that you can use both Roby and Ibaka on DraftKings. They're both centers. Roby may be a power forward on FanDuel. So there's a chance you can get both of them in as value plays that could both, have really solid games here. So I'd say that's the real core of the group that I like. And then, we obviously, as in this COVID world that we're in now, have to wait for news, certainly beforehand. And this podcast will be out plenty early. Everybody have a chance to listen to it. And then, the best bet from there is to jump in our Discord, become a member, check us out at dfscoachtalk.com and jump in. And, we follow everything throughout the day. We're going to be watching very, very closely as, this news breaks and as some of the lines are adjusted or come out. And if there's any player news, we'll make that change. And we stay with it in Discord throughout the day. Obviously 3 hours difference between these two games in this early slate. What we're going to want to do is, watch this first game, get it set up, get the lineups in, and figure out if we're going to have to make some pivots in the second part and strategically set our lineup accordingly. And then we'll be in Discord throughout the afternoon for any news that does break if we have to make any of those pivots. So, the good thing with having like a pay-up guy like Paul George, and then, a couple of value guys like a Roby, even maybe a Lugans Dort. He's a scrappy guy. He's going to have to be in there a lot to guard Kawhi. So there's some potential there with him as well. So that's it for the early slate. I don't know how many people are going to be going over that. Most people will, providers and podcasters will be looking just at the 5-game main slate. But, we are here to provide pretty much every game 7 days a week in front of the paywall to get all of the information out there to everybody. So hopefully that helps you get a great start to your day, and then you keep on rolling with football and then the main slate. All right, before we jump into the main slate, though, speaking of becoming a member at DFS Coach Talk, there is a phenomenal offer from our partners at betus.com.pa. So let's listen to that offer right now.
Listen up, sports bettors. It's go time, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line. Earn bragging rights over friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action, but don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sportsbook with over 25 trusted years in the industry. You need a sportsbook with integrity and longevity, and most importantly, a sportsbook that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, and basketball, MMA, golf, horses, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Now we have the best book in the industry teamed up with the best DFS provider in the industry. Make your first deposit of $149 at betus.com.pa with promo code COACHTALK and receive a free membership with DFS Coach Talk with full access to our DFS lineups in NBA, NFL, PGA, and MLB, the best in the biz. Sign up today to make straight bets, future bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook in the industry is committed to their users like BetUS. So sign up now and get on the winning side of the ball.
All right. And I'll tell you, the offer sounds too good to be true, but it is right there. You get the $149 to play on BetUS, and then you're in here with us and Coach Talk all the way until April 1st. So definitely take advantage of that. We'd love to have you. Also, if you're watching this right now on YouTube, the only ask that we have each podcast is that you take a second, hit the thumbs up, definitely subscribe to the channel. That's important. And hit the little alert button. This way, every time a new podcast posts, whether it's golf, football, or of course our NBA action, then you're alerted and you'll have a chance to jump on that and see it right away. All right. The main slate. 7 o'clock start for the first game. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. Cleveland's 8-7, which is amazing. And Boston is 8-6, which is pretty darn good considering they've missed a lot of people with COVID. Obviously Tatum remains out with the COVID protocol. And Cleveland had got back Garland the last game, which really, gave them a little extra offense. But they're playing really good ball. Boston has been a little shorthanded, but they have hung in there. So this is a very interesting game. Defensive rating wise, Cleveland's 4th in the league defensively. That's why they've been winning. They are really holding teams in check. Boston is 19th. A little lower than they're used to being, but again, they've been really affected by all of this, the people having to sit out. The only concern here a little bit is the pace of play. In getting the defense underway and controlling pace, Cleveland's down to 28th in pace. Boston is only 20th, but there was a chunk of time there where they played without Kemba. Now they're playing without Jaylen Brown. So, there's a lot of, those numbers don't really tell the full story. I like some guys in this game. I absolutely do. I think, we always pick on the defensive backcourt of Cleveland. And really the foundation of that was going against Sexton and Garland because they are not good defenders. So Kemba Walker is a guy that I really like in this game. I haven't rostered him in a long time. He was out, then he was on minutes restriction. I think, he showed the last game that he's back. He's feeling good. And I think he lights up this backcourt. So I am full plug and play Kemba in this matchup. He's my favorite guy on that side of the ball for sure from the Boston side. As far as Cleveland goes, I'm not. Drummond has been terrific, and I like rostering him. But now that Jared Allen is there, and I finally call him Jared Allen instead of Josh Allen, thank God. But they're splitting minutes. They're not playing alongside each other. And they're just splitting minutes. I think they're going to eventually trade Drummond, in my opinion, but it just makes at that price, even though he had a 2020 game the other day. Again, I just don't feel comfortable spending that kind of money when you have a 5-game slate on a center that may not get any type of extended minutes at all. You can look at Darius Garland. I mean, he came back last game and he was firing. I think you'll see Marcus Smart probably defend Colin Sexton initially, but I think Garland will be the guy that gets a little bit more usage, a little more bump up, and he is a scorer for sure, and his price is right. So I think he's a nice play on the Cleveland side. Certainly going back to Boston, Jaylen Brown has to be considered. The question is, can you fit him salary-wise? And we've said we want to attack Brown and play him when Tatum is out, and vice versa, because they lead Boston in usage by quite a bit. But I think Kemba steps up a little bit here. It will be him and Jaylen Brown. So I will try to make a roster where Brown fits in. If I can't make a lineup where I can make the money work, then I may look to go back to the Cleveland side. Cedi Osman has been very steady. He's been producing, scoring, getting some of the ancillary stuff that assists and steals and things like that. So, he's in consideration. His price has come up some, but not quite priced him out. And then the last option for Cleveland is Larry Nance. He has consistently gotten the minutes. We know Love hasn't played yet this year. And really, Nance has been the guy that has blossomed. He's playing well. He's shooting well. He blocks some shots. He gets a lot of rebounds. Now, he doesn't get as many rebounds as he used to because Drummond scoops a bunch of those. But now that Drummond is splitting with Allen, I think Nance can actually secure a few more rebounds playing alongside Allen. So he is in play for me. All right, game 2. It is the Charlotte Hornets at 6-9 against the Orlando Magic at 7-9. And we do have a line on this one from BetUS.com.pa. Orlando's favored by 1.5. Over-under is a paltry 215. Defensive rating, you have Charlotte 12, Orlando 18, not bad. Pace, nothing to write home about. Charlotte 19 and Orlando 22. So really, this game is going to be pretty easy for me to review. I am just not comfortable with the Graham, Rozier, LaMelo Ball split. Just, very difficult to determine which one is going to go off. Graham had the big game last time, but they've all taken turns doing that. So it's a little concern there. And, Hayward's a little pricey for me on this slate where there's some other buy-ups that I want to go after. So in essence, I'm not playing Charlotte, but I do have an Orlando buy-up guy that I think really needs to be considered in this game, and that's Vuk. I know he's expensive, but Vukovic against Biyombo and Zeller, they'll split minutes at center. I think he's just too strong, too big for Biyombo. Biyombo's a really smaller size center. He's more of a power forward size. PJ Washington, if he gets any run at center, cannot check him. And, Zeller can body him, but he's not as good as getting out there when Vuk's taking threes, and he's taking 5.2 threes per game at this stage of the season. So I got to pay up for Vuk. I mean, he's one of the key plays, I think, in this afternoon slate. I don't want to go anywhere else. Cole Anthony's not a bad price, but he's very inconsistent, as you would expect as a rookie. Fournier's back, and he chunks a lot of shots out there that really takes away from anybody else, really, like Terrence Ross, and even Aaron Gordon. Their usage dropped with Fournier coming back, but Vuk's remained about the same. So this is going to be a one and done for me in this game, and it's going to be an expensive one, but I think that he is a necessity for this main slate if you want to take it down. All right, third game, 8 o'clock game, Atlanta, Milwaukee. Very interesting. This is one of those that we have to watch the news. If you're not a member and you can't jump in our Discord, you can also follow us on Twitter. We'll post all that information up there of guys that are in and out, and just keep our listeners aware there. We're all at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane. So the news: Trae Young questionable right now, and that's gonna shift the entire game. If he's in, I'm not going to play him because I really respect Drew Holiday defense, and Milwaukee's defense is continuing to improve. But if he's out, it changes the dynamics of the game. I think you have to, at that point, look at Kevin Huerter. I think he'll handle the ball a lot. I think that it'll open a ton of usage up for DeAndre Hunter, who's playing really, really good basketball. I like him whether Young's in or not. But if he's out, then he becomes, one of my highlighted plays. It's hard to go say anything negative about Clint Capella. I mean, let's just smash. Last game, triple-double with 10 blocks. I mean, I don't expect that, obviously, against the Bucks, but, his price is still fair. And, if you can fit him, I mean, the dude's a rebounding machine. He's, he gets it done. So I think Collins is a little overpriced, and he's going to face Giannis defense right in the chops. So I'm not going to go there. On the Milwaukee side, there's a guy I'm going to roster for the first time in a long time, and that's Drew Holiday. I see just an improvement. I think he's getting more comfortable with the team. They played 14 games. So, being the new guy in this year, it takes a while to get that continuity. And I just see him gaining confidence, gaining his teammates' confidence. He's looking for more shots, and Atlanta's backcourt is not strong defensively. So I think Holiday is a fair price and a fair play for today that could do very well. I know Middleton is playing his absolute eyeballs out. I mean, he's been awesome, but I'm not as high on him here because I think he gets DeAndre Hunter defense. But there is a possibility, salary wise, if I don't go with one of the other pay up guys, something happens in the Clippers game, and I'm the Clippers game's afternoon slate, the Boston game, if Jaylen Brown isn't going to make my lineup, then it may be Middleton that uses that salary for me. But also real quickly here, as far as defensive efficiency, this is a shocking stat too. Would you believe that Atlanta is sixth? That's how they've climbed to 8 and 7. They've just defensively, Capella, Hunter, I mean, those guys specifically have been dead stoppers. Collins is improved, and a couple of their guys off the bench are defending well. Milwaukee's 11th. So I bet you, I never thought I would say Atlanta's defensive efficiency is higher rated than Milwaukee's, but it's true. Milwaukee's is improving though. They struggled out of the gate a little bit. So, that is a little bit of concern about wanting to stack this game. And a lot of guys in this game are expensive. Um, and, the other thing is the pace is good, though. So you've got Atlanta 10th and Milwaukee 6th. So they sort of cancel each other out and create sort of an even kill game as far as determining whether you want to stack it or not. Now, if Trey doesn't play, Milwaukee playing at home could smack Atlanta around a little bit, although they're playing better ball. But if he does play and it's a little tighter, then it'll make a lot of these guys a lot easier to roster. I'm not going to pay up to the top dollar for Giannis. I wish I could, but if I'm putting Vuk and a few other guys in there, it's just not going to be able to afford them. And I think that Capella protects the rim, Collins protects the rim. Giannis is Giannis, but I am a little down on him the way he's shooting the 3 ball and at the foul line. He's just, doesn't seem to be completely in sync, and that's a big amount of salary to use on a guy. I'm also going to fade Brook Lopez this game. Just don't feel it. There's so many pay down centers with Robies and Ibakas and pay up to Vuk, and I have no more room for any rotation of centers on this slate. All right, we're down to 2 more games to complete everything here. We have the Washington Wizards. They haven't played forever. It seems like their games have been canceled. They're a paltry 3-8 against the San Antonio Spurs that are 8-8. Now, it's an interesting game. No line on it yet, but Washington is the second worst defensive team in the league. San Antonio is down at 16, so somewhat middle of the pack. Washington is still playing at the fastest pace in the league, and San Antonio's moving the ball at 13th. There is some news this game that we have to watch for, and it's the 2 point guards. Russell Westbrook is questionable, and DeJounte Murray is also questionable. He rolled his ankle pretty bad the last game. I can't imagine that he's going to play. I do expect Westbrook to play, though. Those are both unofficial, and we need to follow that news on Discord or Twitter tomorrow. But, obviously both of those have a lot to do with who you want to play in this game. I like this game. It's possibly my favorite game on the entire slate, believe it or not. I guess it's not hard to believe. Washington, when they're in there with their bad defense and their pace, I guess it's an easy game to like pretty much every night. But, my other pay up option on this card, and I know this is like the 4th one, but I'm only going to be able to play a couple of them. But Bradley Beal, I mean, he's rested. He's incredible. And, if DeJounte Murray doesn't play, that definitely hurts the backcourt defense for the Spurs. So, Beal's got to be number 1 out of this game that you're looking at. Second, is a real weird one, but and again, it's another center, so that's not going to do us a whole lot of good, maybe in a GPP. But Robin Lopez should get the majority of center minutes. They signed Alex Len. I don't know if he's ready to play yet or not. And they've just been, crushed with injuries. They still have the rookie Advia. You got Bertans out, Troy Brown out, Hashimura out, Wagner's out, and we know that Thomas Bryant tore his ACL. He's out. So, Lopez is going to get the big chunk of minutes at center, and I think that puts him in play as another paid down guy. Those are the 2 guys that I would look at right off the bat. Even if Westbrook's in, I'm not going to pay up for him. Can't afford any more pay up guys. But that's where I'm looking at from the Washington side. On the San Antonio side, another value play that may allow me to get 3 of these big dogs in there is Patty Mills. If Murray doesn't play like I'm expecting, I would assume Patty Mills absorbs the good chunk of those point guard minutes. White is still out, so it really falls in the hands of Mills. And he's tough, man. We know that, all the way from the Australian game back when they beat the USA, and he just drilled the Americans with big shots and steals, and that was against the top team USA. So I like Mills. I respect him. He gets it done on the court, and at his cheap price, if he's going to play 25 to 30 minutes, I think you got to use him. It makes the salary work. Other than that, the other guy that I really like here is DeMar DeRozan. I don't see Washington having a matchup to stop him, and he really has stepped up recently. We've had Johnson, the rookie, come up and down and do decently. Second year guy, I'm sorry. He's had some good games, but he's had some games where he's just been average, and his price is high. LaMarcus, same thing. Aldridge has been, he's hit some shots and had some decent games, and then he's had other games where he's just not really doing much of anything, and they end up playing Pirtle. So there's a little bit of a split there. So I'm all about, DeRozan in this game. His price is still fair enough that he's not a huge pay-up guy, and I think you could certainly consider him in here. I wouldn't mind having him and Mills and Beal, Lopez, and be done with it. So decent value there, and I think you're going to get a lot of DFS opportunity. All right, last game. It is the solo late night sweat game, 10 o'clock, 2 hours later than any other game. And it is the New York Knicks at 8-9 against the Portland Trail Blazers at 8-6. And believe it or not, we have a line on this one, even though it's the latest game. It is Portland minus 3.5, and the over-under is 213.5. I have no idea how it could be so low with the way Portland scores. The only thing I can think of is New York is the third-rated defensive efficient team. They do slow it down and control pace. Portland's missing CJ McCollum, and they're dinged up. They obviously lost Nurkic, so they have had trouble scoring. So I expected this to be, around 218, 219. So this low is really shocking to me, but it makes sense when you look at it. Portland is 27th in defense, though. So, the Knicks are going to be able to score. And Portland is the 9th fastest team. So that's a big, big pace up game for the Knicks. Knicks are the slowest team in the league. So you have a pace down on the Portland side. So let's discuss this game and figure it out. It's always nice to have a little exposure late night so that you're not just sitting there with 0 PMR left and you got to sweat out every point everybody gets. But you also can't just let the fact that it's the late game dictate forcing somebody in where if it was scheduled at the same time as the other games, you wouldn't play them. So, it's a double-edged sword for sure. But there are a few guys that I would consider here. Again, I'd love to, sure. I'd love to say, let's get Lillard and Randall. You can't afford all these guys. And obviously, I've shared some pay-up guys that I have. So let's look at the guys that are value. I think you can do worse than Elfrid Payton against, a Dame Lillard defense. He's not bad at all. Alec Burks, since he returned, is playing a really big role as, that second guard. I think he's going to get a good chunk of minutes here. And again, it's against a backcourt that's going to rotate guys in that aren't that great defensively with Lillard and Gary Trent and a few folks like that. So Burks becomes an option, I think. Not actually as high on RJ Barrett this game because he gets Derrick Jones Jr. defense, and Randall's going to draw some Covington defense, which he's too expensive anyway. The guy that you can look at here, I just hate to do it though, but at Mitch Robinson, he's always a danger to get in foul trouble. We all know that. Noel's getting some minutes. We know that as well. And Robinson's usage is only 11%. So it is a tough pill to swallow, but this is the type of game he could be pretty dominant in. And Cantor is one of the worst interior defenders in the league. And, they've rotated some guys and tried some. Harry Giles, I think, is a guy they're bringing in off the bench. But I'm not going to go there probably with Mitch Robb because there are so many centers that I like and some pay down ones I think that are good value. But I do think he's dangerous to have a good game. So if you're playing that late solo game in a showdown slate, don't pitch Mitch, if you will. I think you still can use him. On the Portland side, Lillard is mega expensive. And so, I think New York's defense has just been so scrappy. Yes, Lillard's going to have massive usage without McCollum. And he's always, it doesn't matter who the defense is, if he's going to step it up, he's going to go after it. But this is such a low total game that, I just don't want to use the dollars there on Lillard. There's a super cheap option that you can go to here with Rodney Hood. He's starting at the shooting guard spot with McCollum out, and he's been efficient. He's stepping in. He's long. That left-handed mid-range jumper is really deadly, and he can also pop a three, and he's a good defender. He'll get some stocks for you. So as a value play, I think he's a nice little option there. Covington has been so incredibly inconsistent. His price is phenomenal, and they're going to need him in there to guard Randall, and, he's going to get the play. But the question is, can he make some shots? He's not shooting it well. But he is an option at that price at a position that isn't really loaded with much talent today, especially if you're fading Giannis. So, he becomes an option. All right, that is it. You got the early slate, you got the late slate, and we've got football going. So it's going to be an absolute phenomenal Sunday at Coach Talk. We'd love to have you join us. Check us out at dfscoachtalk.com, and that'll do it. So enjoy your Sunday. Hopefully you're watching this bright and early, getting your slate ready, getting your lineups locked in. And then remember, you much can't win in NBA DFS if you don't stay tuned in to all the news throughout the day, and you got to be ready to pivot. I mean, we've got late swap on all the sites, so there's no reason to get stuck with a guy that's been ruled out or limits minutes limit or anything like that. So stay tuned. If you make it easy on yourself, jump in our Discord, and we will be following that news on the second. We got a big team of guys that get it done. So I'd like to finish out this week today with really a big shout out to our entire staff at Coach Talk. They put all of this together behind the scenes on social media. Obviously Andrew Hansen, Shane Caldwell, Joe Stanton, Tyler Pitzer, Dawson Sarvati, Brett Trimble, and I knew I'd forget one person. Who am I forgetting? Maybe that's it. Me? I guess that's the person on my count list of when I'm throwing it out there. But they all do a great job. I really appreciate them. And, the teamwork gets it done. So we appreciate all of you. We thank you for listening. We have a lot of really great listeners that tune in every day, and I hope that this information is helping you. It at least get you an initial build that you can be competitive with, and then go from there. So keep the information coming in. A lot of questions, a lot of comments on YouTube, which is great. We really welcome those. Also on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk, and we're dfscoachtalk@gmail.com if you want to email us. We're just out there enjoying it, and it's going to be a great Sunday. So thank you so much for listening in, and we will look to be back tomorrow for sure. I'll be here with Andrew doing a big Monday slate in the NBA. So we'll be looking to crush it again tomorrow in DFS. Have a great day.